Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and I'm coming to you guys with my team builder for the semifinal match between me and Phalop, coach of the Dewford Drapions. We're going to hop right into the battle right after this, and I'll just go ahead and say, this is actually after the match. I listened to my pre-recorded one, and the audio quality was kind of funky, so I'm re-recording it, and hopefully it sounds a little bit better now, and I hope I don't have to do this again. But if you don't know his team, he has Manaphy, Mega Pidgeot, Nidoking, Infernape, Serena, Sylveon, Mismagius, Metagross, Como-O, Honchkrow, and Golem. We've been pretty fortunate versus him this season. We played him twice already and were able to walk away with 2 wins. First one was pretty much due to hacks. I was able to get a crit on his Nidoking with my Manectric and clean up late game with Scarf Nidoqueen. And then in the last game, it was kind of lopsided. I ended up with a 6-0 victory with Celesteela, but mostly because he sort of misplayed around it. I was able to snipe the Infernape on a switch-in with an Earthquake, and it was kind of all downhill from there. So Phalop's obviously really talented. He was the #1 seed in our division. He's in a lot of other competitive leagues and competitive communities, and he's not going to want to lose for the 3rd time. And facing also against somebody 3 times in one season is very challenging. The last time I did this, it was against Kingdra from the PMC Season 2, and he bodied me with a nasty plot Honchkrow. And, of course, Phalop passed Honchkrow, so I'm a little worried about that. But anyway, moving on. I'm bringing a similar team to what I brought before, but just with a few small changes. First, I'm bringing Spadef Rhydon to counter his Mega Pidgeot. This thing hard walls that. He could bring Hidden Power Water, Hidden Power Grass, but I don't think he's going to have the space for it because he brought Defog on his Pidgeot last time, and that takes up a move slot, and then he can go for like U-Turn or Roost or things like that. I just have a feeling he's not going to have enough space. Avalanche is a nice move to hit the Como-O a little bit harder, especially if it hits me beforehand. I can get up a nice big hit. We're running Drill Run instead of EQ because we do have grassy terrain on this team. And then I put a little speed on here to outspeed Golem, plus a few extra EVs. Next we have Latios, Psyshock, Shadow Ball, T-Wave, Roost, enough speed for Infernape, enough HP to live a +3 Ice Beam from Manaphy if we're at full HP. Psyshock plus Shadow Ball hits most of his team except for Honchkrow, and then T-Wave is just kind of nice if I need to get off a T-Wave on like a Z-Rain Dance Manaphy or on a, whatever else, Rock Polish Metagross, funky stuff like that. Pidgeot would be nice. I could put like T-Bolt here instead, and that would be nice coverage, but I decided to go with T-Wave. So it's pretty nice, pretty good matchup. Next up we have a Choice Scarf Zoroark. I've brought Scarf Zoroark quite a bit, but and my team is kind of slow, so I'm kind of dependent on mons like this to run Choice Scarf, which is a little bit of a bummer. It's a little predictable, but it's okay. We're gonna be packing Night Days, Extra Sensory, U-Turn, Memento. So this is pretty nifty to get off a big hit on Pidgeot or Manaphy. It doesn't OHKO like Manectric would, which is kind of a bummer. But, really all I just need to do is get some chip damage on those things, and then Revenge Kill with Zoroark, so that's nice. And then Scarf Memento is kind of cool because then I can just get some momentum into my Wakanberry Celesteela. Same moveset, same spread as before, but Wakanberry, because I can live a Electric move from Nidoking, go for Autotomize. I can live Electric move from Golem and go for Autotomize. There's some other Pokemon on here that might pack the Electric move, like Metagross might have Thunder Punch, things like that. And if he's feeling really rambunctious, he might run Thunder Punch on Infernape and go for that versus me instead of Flare Blitz because I ran Occaberry last time versus him. So maybe he'll be expecting that. And so he's like, oh, well, if I go for that, it might not kill him, but Thunder Punch isn't going to pop it. And I think actually Flare Blitz does 360 divided by 2, 180. So it's even if that's kind of dumb now that I think about it in retrospect, because Flare Blitz is still stronger than Thunder Punch. Maybe not after Iron Fist. Even if I have the Occaberry, Flare Blitz is stronger. But anyway, maybe he would get caught up in the moment and think that that's the best play. But yeah, we outspeed Scarf Nidoking and Scarf Como-O with this spread. We can't outspeed things like Scarf Infernape and Scarf Mismagius, so we don't really bother putting any more speed on than this. We do have a Wish Baton Pass Vaporeon, enough Spadef to live 2 Hurricanes from Modest Pidgeot. We also take a +3 Energy Ball from Manaphy. And then otherwise, this is just hard for his team to deal with. He's probably not going to bring Serena because it's complete bait for the, what do you call it, the Celesteela. And then his other Pokemon is Golem, which obviously doesn't appreciate water-type attacks. So, it just doesn't have any other ways to hit it for super effective stab. So this is quite good versus his team. And we can just kind of pivot around, try and go for Scald on things, wish up our Rhydon, wish up our Celesteela as we need. And then last but not least, I do have a funny Tapu Bulu set, dual screens, Hornleech, Nature's Madness. Hornleech hits his team pretty hard. The biggest answers to that are Metagross and probably Como-O, but especially Metagross. Serena also can kind of switch in on this, but Serena doesn't really threaten Tapu Bulu. We have a chance to live a +3 Ice Beam with this Bulu. I don't really know what Manaphy set he would want to run here. Like, I'm afraid of Z-Rain Dance, but Z-Rain Dance is difficult versus my team because he wants the water coverage, and then he needs both grass and ice coverage to take on Bulu and Vaporeon. But like the last 2 times he's brought Manaphy, he brought Tail Glow, and he wasn't able to get sweeps with it because I was able to take him out. The first time with an Assault Vest Bulu that lived from full, and then I don't think he even got up a Tail Glow the second time. He just got whittled down, and then I was able to kill him with Seed Bomb from Celesteela. So he might not run setup, but we'll see. And if he doesn't run setup, then this is really nice for it because we come in on it, take no damage, get up screens, and support the Celesteela sweep potentially. So yeah, we're gonna hop right into the battle, and I'll tell you guys in advance, it is a very good one. So I hope you're looking forward to it. Alright, and here we are with the battle. Phalop has brought his Metagross, Mismagius, Nidoking, Alolan Golem, Mega Pidgeot, and Manaphy. So, I'm really relieved not to see Infernape. Infernape was a really big threat versus my team. I really only have Vaporeon to switch into it, and I kind of have Latias. But it's really easy for him to get momentum with his Infernape on my Latias. And then he can switch into Metagross and take that on no problem. Also, not seeing the Como-O is really nice because that thing is a threat. It got 3 kills versus me in our first match. And I do have like Celesteela and Rhydon and Vaporeon that can all sort of take hits, but he can beat all of those Pokemon with the right set. I would have to lose at least one of them kind of scouting out what it is. If this Dragon Dance, I can revenge it with Zoroark with Extra Sensory. But anyway, I'm relieved not to see it. I'm not too surprised to see Golem, just because I know it does get Magnet Pull. And he probably has some sort of trick for my Celesteela. I don't know exactly what it is, but my plan is still just to get off on Autotomize. And if I can weaken his Metagross and his Manaphy, then the Celesteela should be able to one-shot almost everything on the team, especially once it gets to a couple of attack boosts. So, looking at this team, Vaporeon matches up really well versus probably all 6 Pokemon. If he's a Speedy Golem, then Vaporeon would be a bad matchup versus that. But I think I'm pretty comfortable just leading it and seeing what he wants to do, as he does go into Manaphy. I know that I can live a +3 Energy Ball, so I'm just going to go for Wish on this turn. And if he wanted to Tail Glow, I can Roar on the next turn and still have my Vaporeon. But he goes for Toxic, and so this is kind of unfortunate because Vaporeon is really important in this match, especially for weakening Metagross. But it's also just a nice Pokemon to take on this Manaphy. It's a nice Pokemon to hit the Golem. It can take 1 hit from Nidoking. It can pretty much sit in front of Mismagius all day and wish up. I think even if it's got Energy Ball, it shouldn't be a big deal. We're not 2 KO'd by Pidgeot, so we can get off some good damage versus that thing. So this is less than ideal on the first turn. But we're still at 94%. I don't know exactly what move he's going to go for, but I am just going to Baton Pass as he, on this next turn, goes for Light Screen. And I was not expecting that. I'm a little relieved that it's not a setup Manaphy, but this is a little bit of a problem because I don't have a lot of good ways to like hit his team really hard. I didn't bring a really offensive team. I brought a pretty bulky team. So Bulu's got no attack investment. Rhydon's got no attack investment. Vaporeon's got no attack investment. Latias doesn't have a whole lot of attack investment. So we have to be really careful. And I don't have any status, so I can't weaken his team that way. Well, sorry, I have Thunder Wave, but I don't have Toxic or Will-O-Wisp anywhere. So we'll have to be really careful. But I am just going to go into my Bulu because he doesn't seem to be set up. And I can go for my own screens here. If he wants to go for Ice Beam, it'll probably do like 32-ish% max. And, you know, it'll just be cool to get up some screens because he's got a lot of offensive pressure on his team. And, you know, it'll definitely weaken that, obviously. As he goes into his Metagross, you know, that's a pretty good switch into Bulu, but he probably wasn't expecting me to be screens. Obviously, I wish I could have gone for the Reflect there, but versus the Manaphy, I thought the Light Screen made most sense. So I can't stay in here. I'm just going to switch right out into my Vaporeon, as he's going to get up his rocks. So nice play anticipating my switch. I'm going to go for Wish here because there's really nothing that this Metagross can do to me. As he brings in the Pidgeot, I can drink a Hurricane from this thing, no problem, but I've got a really great switch in being Rhydon. And even if he wants to predict that and go for HP Water, it shouldn't do more than like 55-60%, and that's before screens. I do have screens up, so it's going to do only, you know, like 30% at max if he's modest. I wasn't too worried about HP Water or HP Grass, though, because he showed in his last game that he wanted to bring Defog, and like if he wants to bring Heat Wave Hurricane, he wants to bring Defog, then his other options are like Roost, U-Turn, maybe Work Up if he's feeling really rambunctious. I just didn't think he could fit it on the set to bring Hidden Power, so the Rhydon seemed really safe. I didn't bring this in any of the other games, so maybe he wasn't expecting me to bring it here. But I did, and this is a rock-solid check to the Pidgeot. His screen goes away, which means that Manaphy is not Light Clay. And he goes right into the Manaphy as I get up my rocks. I'm just going to go right back into Vaporeon. Oh, sorry. I go into Lottie. So this was kind of a tricky play because like Vaporeon does wall this thing pretty hard, but I also want to keep Vaporeon pretty healthy for Metagross if needed. You know, and if I can keep it healthy to take one big hit from Pidgeot, that'd be nice, or from any of the other Pokemon on his team. I don't think he has a move that can OHKO me on his entire team, except for maybe Wild Charge from Golem, because that's super effective stab. So I bring in my Lottie instead. I could have gone Bulu, but if you wanted to go for Scald, which is 4 times effective on my Rhydon, obviously, I didn't want Bulu getting burned, because that'd be pretty bad. Like, Bulu's not super offensive, but versus 5 of the 6 members of his team, or I guess I'll say 4 of the 6 members of his team, Hornleech still does like 70% minimum, and it OHKOs, I think, 3 of those 4 after rocks. So I decided to go Latias, and he anticipates this pretty well and goes for the Toxic. So I have a Toxic Latias, and even though he doesn't have some of his threats that Latias was meant to take on, I still don't like being Toxic here. I just go for T-Wave as he goes for Light Screen, in case he wanted to switch out into Metagross or something. It was nice to get off a T-Wave. I'm happy to get a T-Wave off on this Manaphy as well, because now I can outspeed it with Bulu. I can outspeed it with Celesteela. I can outspeed it with Vaporeon, and try and get off some hits on it that way. I didn't have a really awesome way to outspeed this and hurt it. But we are starting to look a little bit weak here. I'm going to Roost, thinking maybe he might switch out. But he just goes for Ice Beam, and Ice Beam does 14%, so it does around 30% without the screens. I don't know if that means he's invested or not in the special attack. I think it is, but it also could be just like a max roll from an uninvested. It's hard to say. But I'm going to take Toxic damage, go back to about the same amount of HP as when I started, and it's clear that this is going to be a losing battle for me. And so I'm pretty sure I go ahead and switch out, especially now that the Light Screen is gone. And I go into my Vaporeon, which is probably what I should have done to begin with. He gets a crit with the Ice Beam, which is pretty unimportant. But I'm pretty sure I just go for a Wish here, as he brings in his Pidgeot. And so I go for the Wish, and because I've already shown Rhydon to be my switch into this thing, I'm expecting him either to double, expecting that, or to go for like U-Turn or Roost or something cheeky. So I decided to stay in and just go for Scald, as he actually does end up staying in, and he reveals that he's Toxic. So that's really good to know. He can wear down my Rhydon that way. he can wear down Latias. I mean, Latias obviously is already poisoned now. But now I'm thinking he's gonna probably just attack, or yeah, that's probably the most likely thing, is he's just gonna attack. So I go into my Rhydon, as he actually shows that he has Roost. So far he's shown Hurricane, Roost, and Toxic. I have to assume that his last move is Heat Wave, because he doesn't want to make himself bait for Celesteela. And after how much work Celesteela did in our first game, I don't want him, like, I'm sure that he's keenly aware of that, and he doesn't want him having a Pidgeot that's set up bait. So I just go for Rock Blast here, trying to hit the Pidgeot as he brings in the Manaphy. Takes some rocks damage, and then we get 3 hits off with this Rock Blast, which is nice. It does, as you can see, about 8 to 9% each time, so we got like 27% on this thing. And I just go right back into Vaporeon as he goes for the Scald and heals me up. So this is pretty nice. Vaporeon, obviously it got Toxic early, which is unfortunate, but we were able to keep it healthy. And so this kind of stinks. I forgot that the Manaphy was paralyzed and that Vaporeon was going to be faster. I was hoping to get off a slow Baton Pass with the Vaporeon, but instead we got off a fast one, which means something on my team has to take a move from Manaphy. And he's probably not going to be clicking Scald because there's a Vaporeon right in front of him. Nothing on my team really wants to take Ice Beam. And so Latias is kind of looking like the least useful member. So I go into it as he goes for the screen. And, I'm in a really cruddy position with this Latias. I basically have to sack it, because I'm not going to get a good opportunity to Roost versus his team. He might even be Pursuit on the Metagross to try and trap me in. And what I'm figuring, too, is that if this Manaphy can get a little bit more weakened, that'll just pave the way for the Celesteela. He does have the Light Screen, which is going to make my Psyshock do less damage. But, something is better than nothing. And I think if I can get it to about 40-ish%, that Celesteela can kill without any boosts. So I do just click the Psyshock here as he goes right into his Metagross. It's a very good play because there's not a whole lot that I can do with it. Like, I came kind of close to clicking Shadow Ball, but obviously I didn't. This next play, these next few turns are really important. I could have clicked Shadow Ball here just to get some damage, but I instead just go for the T-Wave. Because, he's behind a screen. I'm not going to be able to do tremendous damage to him. But he misses the Meteor Mash. So, obviously, it would have been nice if I went for Shadow Ball there. But I didn't. And he misses the Meteor Mash, which means now I can get off a Shadow Ball. Like, if I had known I was going to get off 2 Shadow Balls, I probably just would have clicked that right away. But as you guys are going to see, it doesn't make a big difference because I get a crit on this Shadow Ball, and I bring him down to 6%. So this really sucks, and he's going to get paralyzed on the next turn. That part doesn't matter because I was going to die to Toxic anyway. But obviously the Metagross being now at 6% is awful for him. Because he needed this to... Like, it obviously did really well versus my Lati. It also does very well versus Celesteela. It does very well versus Bulu. Maybe I should have just clicked Shadow Ball twice and that would have been better. But obviously now this puts me in a great position. Because now I can just let my Lati go down. I can go to Vaporeon and I guess you could say I revenge kill it. But that's a really funny thing to say when you're talking about Vaporeon. But now he goes into Pidgeot. My Vaporeon is still pretty good versus his team. But it's killed the main thing that I wanted to take down for my Celesteela. Now I can just sort of hang on to it and let it take a big hit from one Pokemon or another. But I decide that I just want to get a safe pivot into my Rhydon. So I know that Hurricane is going to do like maybe 40% to me. And so that won't kill my Vaporeon. It'll put it at kind of a low range of HP. But again, I want the safe pivot into Rhydon. So he goes for the Hurricane. I do Baton Pass. I luckily break through the Confusion. And one thing I did not know is that Baton Pass actually passes the Confusion as well. So I'm learning all sorts of things about Baton Pass these last few weeks. I learned that Pursuit does not work on Baton Pass, so that's nice. But anyway, I guess I kind of overpredict this turn. I'm thinking he might just attack me, in which case an Avalanche is going to kill. But and if you wanted to switch out, Avalanche would be nice versus pretty much everything on his team. Maybe Rock Blast was just the better play overall because like it does some decent damage to Manaphy. Nidoking, which does resist the Rock Blast, doesn't take, like, it's not very bulky anyway, so it probably would have taken some decent damage, maybe like 30-40%, depending upon the number of hits that I get. But I do go for Avalanche, as he just goes for the Toxic, as you're about to see. There it is. So Avalanche is going to do nice damage, but it definitely doesn't kill. And now he can just roost up, actually. I'm going to go for the Rock Blast. And I break out of Confusion, and I get 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits, and I end up getting 4 hits. I bring him down to 7%, and I'm hoping that he might go down to this burn, but he is just enough to hang on with 1% HP. So this next play is probably was a little risky, but he knows that he can 1v1 my Rhydon at this point, depending upon rolls and stuff like that. So I'm really expecting him to roost. Like, there's almost no way he attacks here because it doesn't do anything to Rhydon. It does way less than the Toxic is doing. So because I don't think there's any chance that he makes an attacking move here, I decided to go Zoroark, and I can 2-hit KO anything on his team. So he can either sack the Pidgeot or bring something else in and let it go down, which I'm pretty happy with. And it's funny because it's disguised as the Booloo. People in the chat are saying, "What the heck happened, CJ? Don't you have Grassy Terrain? Like, did you mean to like have a different ability?" And Phalop, of course, was too smart for that. He knew immediately that this is Zoroark. But he does go for that Roost, and we are guaranteed to kill with our Night Days here. And he does just decide to sack the Pidgeot that's right in front of us. It was pretty annoying. It could do a lot of work to our team, but as long as we had Celesteela and Rhydon, we were going to be looking pretty good versus that thing. And the other members of his team, like Manaphy is still like just a bulky, annoying Pokemon to deal with right now. Mismagius, I don't know what it is, but it outspeeds almost everything on my team, and Nidoking can OHKO pretty much anything on my team. So I can understand Pidgeot being the play there. He does just now go into the Nidoking, and I'd love to keep the Zoroark around just because it can revenge kill pretty much anything on the team with a Night Days. But Nidoking, again, if this is Sugar Berry, this thing can live a hit from Celesteela. So I want to get chip damage on it to the point where either EQ or Heavy Slam will be able to kill, and I don't have to worry about him being Shuka. So I think that the safer play is just to stay in here and go for a big hit. Luckily, we do hit the Night Days, and he goes down to about 39%. Kills us with a P-Jab, obviously. And the fact that he's a physical Nidoking is also really interesting, and ends up coming into play in a few turns here. But now, the way I'm looking at this, Manaphy is weakened. It comes in at about, 40% after rocks. Maybe it's like, I think it's actually like 50% or so, maybe a little more. But Mismagius is not very bulky and has to take rocks. Nidoking is in range of any move, and Golem is quad weak to Earthquake. I'm a little worried about that thing being Sugar Berry, but whereas I could control what the amount of damage that this Nidoking has, I can't really do anything but the Golem. So I do go into my Celesteela, and this would also be great if he is for some reason Choice Scarf, which obviously he's not because he goes for Thunder Punch. We do burn our Wakan Berry when we get off this Autotomize. So I just go for the Heavy Slam here because I think it's pretty safe all around. He does go into the Manaphy, comes in at 50%, get off a nice 20% with his Heavy Slam, and as long as he's not Rindo Berry, we can kill with a Seed Bomb. So we do take that out. And this is starting to look like another sweep for Celesteela, which I'm pretty pleased about. He goes into the Golem. Again, if he's Sugar Berry, it sucks, so there's nothing really I can do about it. Seed Bomb doesn't kill, and Heavy Slam doesn't kill. It turns out that it wasn't going to make a big difference because he's actually Endure. So as soon as he clicked that, I was like, shit, this thing is Custap Berry. And I was pretty sure it was going to be Magnet Pull, but I tried to switch out just in case it wasn't. And obviously that didn't work. So I have no choice but to stay in here and see what he wants to go for. As he does show that he is the Custap Berry. Simply get off a Wild Charge and kill us. If we still had our Rakan Berry, we might have been able to live, which would have been really cool. But it probably would have put us in the range of HP where Scarf Magius would have killed. He hasn't brought it out to this point, so I don't know what that's what the set is, but he does tell me after the match that it is Scarf. So really nice prep on his part. It was such a really smart move. I'm quite impressed. But I'm in kind of a precarious situation now because Nidoking can kill almost anything that's on my team. I do know that because Rhydon is very physically bulky, and that he's shown that his Nidoking is fully physically offensive, that if he's packing EQ, that Rhydon can live one. Obviously, it lives one under grassy terrain, but Rhydon should live at the range of HP that it's at no matter what. It's just a question of what is he going to go out into? Is he going to go into Mismagius, or is he going to go into Nidoking? I decided just to go into Vaporeon and evaluate what he wants to do, because I don't mind sacking this thing. It doesn't do anything for me at this point. So he does sack it, and I do go into Rhydon. Now, as I mentioned, Rhydon does live the EQ, even though I'm fully Spadef. It just has so much good natural physical defense that it lives. So my sort of obvious play is to go for the Drill Run here, but Mismagius does have the Levitate ability. And so I guess I could have just gone for Avalanche to try and get damage off on the Mismagius, but that wasn't going to kill. And then I could go into Bulu on this Mismagius because I need to preserve my Rhydon for the Nidoking. But then if he doubles on my Tapu Bulu switch and goes back into his Nidoking, Rhydon can come back in and kill Nidoking once again, but Mismag is probably going to be able to take out my Rhydon because it'll take an EQ, it'll take in a couple turns of toxic damage. So what I decided to do is, I don't think there's any way he's staying in with his Nidoking here. And while I could just stay in with Rhydon and go for an attack, I decide that the better play is just to double into Bulu. And because if he does go to Mismag, I can get a Horn Leech off. It should, at worst, 2-hit KO the Mismagius. There's almost no way that he's bringing the Nidoking back in, because that's also going to die to Horn Leech. And then once the Nidoking comes back in, kills Bulu, I can go to Rhydon, live in EQ comfortably, and win the game. So he does end up switching, and as I mentioned, I do make the double into my Bulu, and that kind of seals up the deal for us. I don't think there's anything that Phalop can do to win. Maybe if he's like Will-O-Wisp Pain Split or something like that, he could have brought this back. But he, again, told me that he was Scarf, which was a nice set versus my team. It allows him to outspeed a Selgor. It outspeeds Latias and a bunch of my other threats. So yeah, he goes for the Poison Jab, kills my Nidoking. If he gets a crit, if he's somehow packing Surf or some other sort of mixed coverage, he can win. And to be honest, I probably should have just gone for the Avalanche here, because I think it's a 100% chance to hit, whereas Drill Run is a 95% chance to hit, so I could have missed. But I do just click the Drill Run, and as long as I hit, I should win. And we do connect with the Drill Run, as you guys are going to see, and we come up with a very close 1-0 victory. And unfortunately, we ended up sort of haxing Phalop again, just like we did in Week 2. This was also pretty critical. So I feel really bad for Phalop, and I think you guys should definitely check him out. He was a great coach. He built really well for me. I loved the Custap Endure Golem. I loved the Light Screen Manaphy. Very creative. Fortunately, this does now put us into the championship game for the UPC. And the battle already went up on Tyler's side a couple days ago. He was able to beat OP Jellicent and advance to the championship on his side. So we did lose to him 4-0 in Week 11, but we didn't try super hard, and it's funny, we actually almost won. If we just had a Wakan Berry on Celesteela instead of Weakness Policy, we could have survived a hit from the Tapu Lele and potentially swept him with the Celesteela. So I think, even though he's got a great team and he's got a busted Pokemon like Tapu Lele, I like our chances. I think that we can at least give him a good run for his money. Hopefully it's an exciting match, and while I'll be happy, no matter how it ends, I'm obviously going to be most happy if we can walk away with the championship. So make sure you guys check out the channel so you can catch that championship battle. It's going to be really hype. Once again, check out Phalop, a really great guy, great battler. And that is going to do it for me. Make sure you check back to the channel for other gaming and Pokemon content. And until the next time, I will see you guys later.